We're going to be starting in 5 minutes, everybody, just so you know. Welcome, everyone, to our Finance Committee meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order and begin by acknowledging that we are in Mi'kma'ki, the traditional territory of the Mi'kmaq people. Do we have any announcements, acknowledgements, or recognition? Seeing none. And I see that we have no one here at this time for public input, but I do want to let our residents know that we do have an opportunity for public input. Is one of our several opportunities for the public to engage with the council, and residents are welcome to use the public input portion of the meeting to share their thoughts with council on municipal topics that are important to them. We're going to move on with the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda? No? Could I have someone approve the agenda as circulated? All of a sudden I forgot. I totally forgot. I know who it is. It's Councillor Smith. Burns. Counselor Burns. And seconded by Deputy Mayor Vino. All those in favor? The agenda has been approved. I did neglect to say that we do have regrets from Councillor Brooks, Councillor Smith, and Councillor DeLong. And the approval of the minutes for June the 3rd, 2025. Are there any errors or omissions in those minutes? Seeing none, I approve the minutes as circulated. And do we have any business arising from the minutes? No. We have no presentations and no referrals from committees. We're going to move right down to our Finance Department regarding our operating variance report and our fourth quarter. And I'm going to turn the time over to our Director of Finance, Elena Wenzel.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So you have before you your operating variance report and your fourth quarter actual report, which is our draft to March 31st, 2025. So we've been looking at these variance reports quarterly, so it's not the first one you've seen. So the actual figures are in draft until the year end's finalized. There might be some adjustments which will be included when we do our final report with our financial statements when we do the treasurer's report. We have commented on all the variances included. In this fourth quarter report, we are projecting an operating surplus of about 3.28 million, which does represent a 3.26 million budget variance. The revenue variance shows 1.4 million in additional revenue expected to be received compared to budget. Much of this is in transfer tax and interest on deposits, which account for most of that budget variance. The expenditure variance does show 1.7 million less than budgeted. Just to note, there will be one adjusting entry that I know of, and that will be for the LCLC when they get their final audited numbers done. We'll make a final adjustment to these numbers, so we don't have that yet, but I expect to have that in the next week or two. So we do have additional details in the report for the committee to consider. I'm certainly happy to answer any questions.
Does anyone have any questions for Elena? Councillor Mayor McLean-Weil.
What do we get for interest on our cash holdings?
We have an agreement with our bank, and I believe it's 1 3/4 under prime that we earn on our deposits. So it's usually better than most of the GICs that I see come through. So we tend to leave it there.
Do we have a policy on that?
Through the chair, we do have a very old investment policy. It is kind of on the list of things that we should be looking at, and I hope to get that done in the next little bit. But yes, it's a very old investment policy, but in theory, any investment policy that we write will have to be approved by the minister. And so there is some strict rules on where you can put municipal funds and where you can invest them.
I just like to make a comment on our deed transfer tax, that considering that this report is from March, how that many properties had sold throughout the winter, right? And into the spring, right? I thought, and that people are still moving here to our municipality. And if there isn't any other questions or comments, we'll move on to 9.1.2, proposed amendments to policy 058, fees regarding credit card processing. And Elena, you're going to discuss this with us?
Yes, I am, Madam Chair. So just bear with me because I seem to have I don't know, I lost my paper, but I'll just do it by my own little brain here. So we do have a fees policy, so staff have actually given you two things. We've given you an updated fees policy based on the recommendation about credit card processing. So what's happened is, the municipality had looked at credit card processing for payments many years ago. The processing fees were quite high. Didn't think that the municipal taxpayer would want to shoulder those fees. With the advent of the new building e-permitting software, we have to have a credit card processor. Like, we don't have a choice with that. That will automatically take credit cards. So if we were going to be able to accept credit cards for building payments, it certainly made sense to us to look at accepting credit cards all around for any kind of payment that we could have. So we contacted the current credit card provider that we have through our bank. So the Bank of Montreal uses Moneris, and so they are the ones that process our debit fees now, and contacted them on what their fees would be for processing credit cards. Their fees, there is a monthly rate and an implementation amount, but the fee is 0.59% that the municipality would be charged. So we did a jurisdictional scan on what other municipal units are charging people to pay their tax bills or whatever kind of payments through credit cards, and those were running between 1.75 and 2.5% as a fee on top of that payment. So staff looked at it and thought, well, probably 1% would probably be reasonable to cover the monthly cost. I think the rental's $25 a month, as well as cover those fees that we would be charged. So staff thought that this probably is the time to look at accepting credit cards for all payments and making that changeover.
Are there any questions for clarification? Could I have someone put the motion on the floor, please? Councillor Hubley?
That's council. I said I would, but. Oh, sorry, thank you. To the chair and members of Finance Committee, I move that the Finance Committee recommends to Council that Municipal Council amend Policy 058 fees to include a 1% processing fee for credit card payments, and hereby gives 7 days' notice of Council's intention to approve the amendment to the policy 058 on July 22nd, 2025, and I so move.
I have a seconder, seconded by Mayor McLean-Weil. Are there any questions? I do have one. Will staff be telling each person who asks to pay with their credit card that, and letting them know that there will be a fee?
Yes, through to the chair. So essentially what it will be, if staff at the counter, or we can take it over the phone, those are the two ways we can do it. We will be able to do it until the Town Suite portal is in place, where we'll be able to take it online. They'll be asking if someone says, yes, I have to pay with a credit card, then when they choose credit card with our payment system, it will tell them how much extra they're going to have to pay. So they'll say, oh, if you want to pay for a credit card, it's 1% fee, and so your $100 bill is now $101, essentially.
Wonderful. Are there any other thoughts or questions? No? All those in favor? Motion has been approved unanimously. Everyone agreed. Let's move on to planning. Jeff and Graham, I believe you're up next for 9.2.1. And are you also doing 9.2.2 as well? Yeah, both of them? Okay, great.
Thank you. I'm here for the repeal and replacement of the building bylaw. The building code bylaw hasn't been amended since March 18th of 2011. The building bylaw for the municipality does not currently address the expiry of building permits, renewal of building permits, and the revoking of a building permit. These clauses are necessary for the implementation of our new building software. As well, there's requirements for location certificates for new residential construction being added. We're also going to be removing the fees from the bylaw and adding them to the fee policy 58. As well, we're updating the accessible format and the clear language revisions. When a building permit is issued, the applicant must demonstrate that the work they wish to undertake complies within the Building Code Act, regulations, zoning controls, and the land use bylaw. Building code changes can affect how a building is constructed. Changes to land use bylaws can affect permissible uses and or property setbacks. To avoid being impacted by these changes, the building code, development bylaws, or land use planning regulations, such as those related to cluster developments or coastal protection, permits may be applied to without any genuine intent to being constructed within a reasonable period of time. Staff proposes amending the building code bylaw to include a 1-year expiry for permits. 2 one-year renewal options would be available, with renewal fees limited to the administration portion of the fee schedule, which I think is $30. This change would align with the building permit timeline, with 1 year validity of the development permit, requiring property owners to reapply for a development permit if construction has not commenced within that period. Most new residential construction in the municipality is completed within a 2-year timeline. The additional year would allow property owners a buffer year for a total of 3 years to complete their project. Work not completed after the 3rd year would require a new application, but for only the work that's not been completed. Under our regional building services agreement, this would align with the municipality of the town of Bridgewater, the town of Lunenburg, building permit expiry timelines. The Region of Queens building bylaw does not currently address these dates, which we expect that they will have to modify in the upcoming bylaw amendments. This amendment also adds the requirement of a location certificate for all new structures, and any new structure that is alters the building envelope and shall be approved by the building official and the development officer after the footing or the slab has been poured. A location certificate may not be required in the sole discretion of the building official for the additions to buildings or for the construction of a building that is an accessory building. Occasionally, situations arise where the location of the structure is not within the property boundary or within the required setbacks. This can occur when the property boundary is not clear and often is not identified until after the structure is substantially complete. In this situation, there may be some perceived liability for the municipality. The addition of the location certificates to the building permit process ensures that the structures are within the property boundaries and conform to the setback requirements. Further to the amendment, we move all building-related permit fees to fee policy 58 in alignment with other planning and development service fees. There's no expected implication, financial implication to this change. Strategic communication, the change would be clearly communicated to all new permit applicants, contractors, and industry contacts. Relevant sections of the website will be updated to reflect the change. Permit application forms would be updated. The building permits would include expiry dates. Further, the upcoming permit tracking system will include expiration of the building permit, which reminds the applicant and the mechanism of the new renewal online. This change will become effective for any permits after January 1st. Council can refuse the proposed changes. Council can modify the length of the permit if they wish. Staff is recommending that the council approve the changes of the building code bylaw to allow for the expiry of building permits in 1 year with 2 one-year renewal terms. We also recommend that the building permit for the fees, for the building fee be added to the policy. Sorry, building permit fees from the bylaw to the fee policy. So there's the bylaw is here. There's lots of changes. Some of them are just for accessibility or for clearer language, but we added a definition for location certificate on page 2. And again, just cleared up a lot of unclear language going through. We did add the policy fee to establish policy 58. All applicable fees as established in policy 58 must be paid in full before the building permit. That was added for moving the fees over. The big change would be on page 5, location certificates. With the exception of section 11.2 of this bylaw, a location certificate is required for all new structures and any new construction that alters the building envelope and must be approved by the building official and the development officer after the footing or the slab has been poured to ensure the construction meets the requirement of the land use bylaw and building code. And sentence 2, a location certificate may not be required in the sole discretion of the building official for any additions to buildings or for accessory structures. The next one is number 12, the expiry of the building permit. A building permit is valid for 1 year from the date of issue and may be renewed, making a renewal application to the building official and paying the administration portion of the building permit fee applicable to the building permit. The building official reserves the right to refuse a building permit renewal request. A building permit may be renewed 2 times. If no construction has commenced at a time of the expiry of the building permit, a new development permit will also be required. If an occupancy permit has not been issued prior to the end of the second 1-year renewal period, a new application must be made to complete the project. The new building application must comply and meet all the requirements of the Building Code Act and the Building Code regulations, municipal land use bylaw, and the bylaw at the time of the new application is made. I think that is the main bits of the changes to the bylaw, and like I say, removing the Schedule A fees and moving them to the fee policy. I think that's it.
Are there any questions? Deputy Mayor Vino.
So with regards to the renewal process, it says here that they can renew it twice,
Yes.
and they'll have to pay the administration portion, which isn't the full thing. It tends to be a smaller amount, but it's still a fee. Will they have to do that for each renewal period? And is
Yeah.
that similar to what other municipalities do, have them pay that fee
The fee,
again?
Yeah, so ours is $30. I think the town of Bridgewater is $25. That's just what their mid fee is set for, so, but, yeah.
Mayor McLean Weil.
My question is on the location certificate, which is new. And how much time will that add to the process?
Typically, it doesn't. Several municipalities do require it already, and we actually do require it in some cases here already. The banks often always require it. So it may not be being asked by us, but it's being asked by the banks or another organization. And Jeff and I were talking, his insurance company asked for one as well. So typically it doesn't stop or slow down. In other municipalities, they often have a two-stage building permit, so they'll do a footing first, and they won't issue the full building permit until they receive the location certificate to make sure it's in the right place. Most times it's good, but we've had issues that they have not been where they're supposed to be. So, but typically it doesn't slow down the process. Typically the surveyor comes out within a couple days, and it's a quick thing for them to do, so.
Councillor Bell?
Another question with regards to the location certificate.
Yeah.
It's my understanding now that for new buildings, Department of Transportation, Public Works requires a location certificate for any new structure being built within so many feet of the highway. So we already have this basically halfways now, so, and then most mortgage companies require it. So I don't think that we're going to be inconveniencing people too much.
No, and DOT, they typically will accept a sketch that you draw a box and put your own measurements in. But you're right, a lot of people are asking for them already. It may not be us currently doing it. Our acts and regulations give us the powers, if we're ever unsure if it's in the right place, we can always ask for it now and do sometimes. And some zoning areas, we're already asking for it, so, but.
Certainly.
So looking at that change, would it eliminate situations where we may have gone before, where we issued a building permit and then found out the structure was not built within the geographical location of the property? And I'm thinking of a situation that might have been in Deputy Mayor Vino's area. So would that have been a way to eliminate those type of?
It can, and it can help us with, staff are often GPSing foundations with our equipment that is very, it's not accurate at all. So we've had cases where we've GPS something and then contacted them and said, we think your foundation is in somebody else's property, to find out that it was correct, but our equipment was off. So this is an accurate representation of where it is. So, but it's, you know, it's not an uncommon thing to have. So, but, and it protects us as well and the property owner. So if they finish the house and then 2 years later they find their house isn't on their property, it's a lot cheaper to move a foundation than it is a whole house. So
I actually see this as a very good benefit and an upgrade for what we should probably already be doing.
Are there any other questions, comments? I do have one myself, and it's regarding the expiry date. Not that I don't think we should have an expiry date for the building permits, but I'm not sure if a one-year one is long enough, because as you said yourself, most residential homes take at least 2 years to do. And so I'm just wondering, with our limited construction season, whether having it as 1 year is really beneficial to our residents, rather than having it 2 year, because this, they can renew for a second year, but then they're paying again, and then they're paying again if they need to. So I'm just wondering, in your experiences that both of you have had in the planning department, are more houses completed in 1 year, or is it really take most people 2 years?
good question. So we have to remember too that this isn't just for new homes. It could be decks, which could take 2 weeks to build. It could be a small addition or a renovation inside. So you're talking specifically about new, but most building permits, I don't know what the ratio is from new to other types of building permits that we have. one of the big issues is when there's a zoning change or we bring in new rules like the coastal or cluster developments, and someone applies for a building permit and has no intention of building. So they get in under the wire, so everyone knows that there's new rules coming. They apply for their building permits, and 10 years later, they still didn't build or attempt to start. So that stops that from happening. The development permits expire within the first year if no construction has started anyway. So some of it's, again, it's in place already. But when I first came here, it was, don't worry, take as many years as you want to build your house. So the building code changed 3 times. And when they started, the insulation values of a house were low. And now by the time they're finishing, we're going back in there and they don't have what the current insulation value is. So it's confusing for staff as well because there is changes, whether it's planning or building code changes. So the longer that it's open, it causes issues. Also with our building software that we're bringing into place soon, it will have expiries in there as well. So if we're not aligned that way, it will cause some issues. Most municipalities do have this rule. Town of Bridgewater has this, Town of Lunenburg has this. Queens are in the process, though they're going to have to change too because of our software program that we have.
I'm just wondering, like, I realize that we have to have an expiry date, for sure.
Yeah.
And waiting, and because the building code does change quite regularly. Is it possible for us to look at it and see if there were more people in a year or two that had to, when they're building new homes, come back for the second permit? Or, you understand what I'm saying, right? Because I am concerned that people, because of our construction time period and seasons, that they will need the 2 times, and that they may feel that it's almost a money grab, right? In the fact that they need to renew their permits. And is it possible to separate types of permits, like new build from, just having a deck put on? Like, is that possible?
Our software changes it. If you're concerned about the cost, the extra $30, then, I mean, we could reduce that fee down if that, leave the expiries, but, and, lessen the fee if that's your concern. The 1-year expiry works out really well with development in our building software. So if it's just, and right now people are renewing because in many cases the builders believe that they do expire anyway. So they're calling and we're renewing them. We're just not charging a fee for them at this point in time. So.
Okay, well, if it's a normal thing, and maybe it's just my feelings on it, does anyone else have any thoughts or ideas? Or they're not concerned? Councillor Burns?
The real cost we're adding here, and I'm not against it, I actually think it's a better public policy to have the location certificate up front than what we have now. I'll have a few people who are upset with me over that, but as a general thing, it's a better public policy to have it up front. The real cost we're adding is the requirement for a location certificate for those that don't otherwise need the financing from the bank and the third party's requirement for it. So the $30 fee is a fraction of what the cost of the location certificate is. So my concern is largely more about staff time on the renewal than it is about the $30 fee. I would say if we're concerned about costs, then it's, do those who already have the funds need to get the location certificate cost? And I would say that we're looking at public policy as a, let's just prevent these issues and not rely on title insurance to go back and cover the loss if people have to deal with it in a courtroom. So overall, that's what I would encourage folks to do, is just roll with the fees for now, and we can change them accordingly if it really, the $30 seems to deter development.
So we have a motion on the floor, right? No, we don't have a motion on the floor, all right. So could I have someone bring forth the motion? Councillor Bell.
To Your Worship, Mayor McLean Weil and councillors, I move that the Finance Committee recommends to Council that Municipal Council repeal and replace Bylaw 018, Building Code Bylaw, effective January 1st, 2026, as presented, and conduct first reading of the bylaw on July 22nd, 2025. I so move.
Seconded by Councillor Burns. Is there any other comments or questions? No? All those in favor, please signify. Motion's carried. And you've talked a little bit about the building fee. Do you want, do
Yeah.
you want to add on to that?
Yeah. So the proposed changes to the building bylaw will move the fees out of the bylaw and into the fee policy. A change in the method of the calculation is required with our implementation of our new software as well. As part of the building code bylaw repeal and replacement, building permit-related fees will be removed from the building code bylaw and moved into policy 58. Staff recommend removing Appendix A from the current building bylaw and amending the fee policy to add building permit fees to Table 1, fees for planning and development services. A change in the method of calculation is required with the introduction of the new e-permitting system. The fee structure will be amended and simplified to be calculated based on the estimated cost of construction rather than the square footage. Staff recommend that a uniform rate of 72 cents per $1,000 value of construction plus an administrative fee of $30 will generate the same projected revenue as approved in the 2025-26 operating budget. In comparison, our neighboring municipal units charge $1.10 per thousand for the municipality district of Chester, $3 per thousand the town of Bridgewater, and $2 per thousand for the town of Lunenburg, excluding the administration or other fees. Budget implications of council approves is the uniform rate of 72 cents per thousand plus a $30 administrative fee. The expected revenue is anticipated to reflect the 25-26 projected revenue. This change would be clearly communicated to the new permit applicants, contractors, and industry contacts. Relevant sections of the website will be updated to reflect the changes as well. Permit application forms would be updated. The new structure fee would come to an effect January 1st, 2026. Council can direct staff to increase the building permit rate. Council can direct staff to decrease the building permit rate for your alternatives. But staff are recommending that council approve the building permit fee, the uniform fee of 72 cents per thousand plus a $30 administration fee. And if you go to the table under planning development, you can see that the building permit fees, they're 72 cents. The building permit renewal fee of $30, demolition permit of $22, temporary structures $30, temporary change of use $30, nonprofit organizations $30, and additional fee that applies to all construction commenced without a building permit for $55. And I think that is it.
Are there any questions or clarification? Could I have someone bring forth the motion? Councillor Moore?
The Finance Committee in session on Tuesday, July 8th, made the following recommendation to Council, that Finance Committee recommends to Council that Municipal Council approve the amendments to Policy 058 fees to add building fees to planning and development services fees, Table 1, effective January 1st, 2026, and hereby gives 7 days' notice of Council's intention to approve the amendments to Policy 058 fees on July 22nd, 2025, and I so move.
Seconded by Councillor Burns. All those in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you very much. That ends our agenda for today, and so this meeting is adjourned.